My name is Owen Clark, and I clean a Waffle House off Route 49 in Mississippi. I'm writing this because I need someone to know what happened here, what's still happening. Maybe if I tell someone, it'll matter. Maybe it won't, but I have to try. 3 months ago, I was living in my car in Memphis. Divorce does that to you. Takes everything you built and leaves you with a Honda Civic and a garbage bag of clothes. I saw the job listing on my phone while parked behind a Target. Overnight janitor needed. Immediate hire. The pay was decent, included a room above a gas station nearby, and they didn't ask many questions. I should have known that was a red flag. The Waffle House sits alone on a stretch of highway where the trees grow too close to the road. It's the kind of place you pass and forget immediately. Yellow and black sign glowing against the dark, a beacon for truckers and insomniacs. When I pulled into the parking lot for my interview, I noticed the building felt wrong. Not visibly. It looked like every other Waffle House I'd ever seen, but something in my gut twisted, the way it does when you're being watched. Tom Ridley, the manager, met me at the door. He was maybe 50, with grey stubble and deep circles under his eyes that suggested he hadn't slept properly in years. His handshake was weak, sweaty. "You Owen?" he asked. "Yes, sir." "Good. Can you start tonight?" I blinked. "Don't you want to interview me first?" "You got a pulse. You willing to work overnights?" "Yeah, but then you're hired." He pulled out a W-4 form from his back pocket, already crumpled. "Fill this out. You'll work 11 to 7, 6 nights a week. Sundays off. Beth works the overnight waitress shift. She'll show you the ropes." The inside of the Waffle House looked standard. Yellow booths, checkered floor, the eternal smell of coffee and hash browns. But underneath that, something else. Copper, like old pennies or blood. I told myself it was just industrial cleaner. Tom led me to the back, past the kitchen, to a storage closet. He pulled out a mop, bucket, and a laminated piece of paper. "These are the rules," he said, handing me the laminate. "Follow them exactly. Don't ask why. Don't break them." I looked down at the list, thinking it was some kind of hazing overnight janitor rules. Never mop the floor in booth 7. Wipe it down only. If the jukebox plays on its own, let it finish the song. Keep the freezer door closed between 2 and 4. If a customer orders eggs the old way, give them scrambled eggs and nothing else. Don't look directly at anyone sitting in the parking lot after midnight. The bathroom in the back doesn't exist on Thursdays. If you hear knocking from inside the walls, knock back twice. Never ever go into the kitchen when all the lights are on but nobody's there. I laughed. Is this a joke? Tom's expression didn't change. No. Come on. If you hear knocking in the walls, this is like some internet creepypasta thing. Owen. Tom grabbed my shoulder, his fingers digging in hard. I need you to understand something. These rules exist for a reason. Follow them and you'll be fine. Break them. He trailed off, looking toward booth 7. The last janitor didn't listen. We don't know where he is now. We found his shoes by the fryer, but nothing else. A chill ran down my spine, but I forced another laugh. Right. Okay. Sure. Tom left at 11 o'clock sharp, practically running to his car. That's when I met Beth. She was maybe 40, thin, with dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. Her eyes were tired, and she didn't smile when she introduced herself, just nodded. "You read the rules?" she asked. "Yeah, they're interesting. They're real." She poured herself a coffee, hands shaking slightly. "Don't break them." "What happens if I do?" Beth looked at me for a long moment. "You'll find out. Just don't." The first night passed without incident. A few truckers came through, ordered food, left. I mopped the floors, carefully avoiding booth 7 just in case, and wiped down counters. The jukebox stayed silent. Nothing knocked in the walls. By 7 o'clock, when the morning shift arrived, I was convinced the whole thing was just Tom's weird sense of humor. I was wrong. Night 3 is when it started. It was a slow Tuesday, just past 2 o'clock. Beth was in the back, taking her break, and I'd decided to properly clean booth 7. The rules were stupid, I'd decided. Hazing for the new guy. I filled my mop bucket with hot water and Pine Sol, rolled it over to the booth, and dunked the mop in. The moment the mop touched the floor of booth 7, the water in my bucket turned dark red. I jerked back, nearly knocking the bucket over. The water churned, thick and viscous, spreading across the floor like it was alive. And then the vinyl seat of the booth split open with a wet, tearing sound. Inside wasn't foam or stuffing. It was meat. Red, glistening meat. Like the inside of a body. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The tear in the vinyl widened, and from inside it, I heard whispers. Dozens of voices, overlapping, begging. "Help us. Let us out. Please. It hurts. We're still here." The smell of copper flooded the room, so strong I gagged. The meat pulsed, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. The whispers grew louder, more desperate, and I saw something moving inside the tear. Fingers, pale and thin, reaching toward me. I stumbled backward, knocking over the bucket. The red water spilled across the floor, but where it touched the checkered tile, it vanished, like it had never been there. The tear in the booth slowly closed, the vinyl sealing itself with a soft squelching sound. Within seconds, booth 7 looked completely normal. Beth found me sitting on the floor, hyperventilating. "You mopped it," she said. Not a question. I nodded, unable to speak. She sighed and helped me to my feet. "I told you. Now you know." "What the hell was that?" "This place was built wrong," Beth said, leaning against the counter. "On purpose. Back in the 70s, some developer wanted to build cheap, cut corners. Used condemned land. Condemned? The land was condemned for a reason. This area," she gestured around us. "There was a massacre here during the Civil War. Soldiers killed a bunch of escaped slaves who were hiding in the woods. Burned them alive. Bodies were never properly buried. Just left. I felt sick. So the Waffle House is built on a mass grave. Not just that. Something about the violence, the suffering. It soaked into the ground, changed it. And when they built here anyway, it let things through. Memories, echoes, sometimes worse. We need to leave. Call someone. The police, the health department. And tell them what?" Beth's laugh was bitter. "That the Waffle House is haunted. They'd think we're crazy. Besides, it doesn't matter. We can't leave." "What do you mean we can't leave?" She looked at me with something like pity. "You work here now, Owen. It knows you. It won't let you go. Over the next week, I witnessed things that made Booth 7 seem almost tame. The jukebox incident happened on Thursday night. At exactly 1:30, the jukebox in the corner lit up on its own. No one was near it. No one had put money in. But it started playing Dream a Little Dream of Me, the old Mama Cass version. Except the song was wrong. The music was warped, stretched, like a tape played at the wrong speed. And the vocals, they didn't sound like singing anymore. They sounded like screaming, like someone was being hurt, crying out for help. But the words were forced into the melody of the song. I stood frozen behind the counter, every hair on my body standing up. Beth was in the bathroom. I was alone with that sound. The song lasted 4 minutes. 4 minutes of warped music and screaming vocals while I watched the jukebox glow in the corner. When it finally ended, the machine went dark and the Waffle House was silent except for the hum of the refrigerators. Beth came back out. Jukebox play? I nodded. You let it finish? Yeah. Good. She didn't elaborate. The freezer incident was worse. Friday night, around 1:45, I needed to grab more coffee from the walk-in freezer. I opened the door, saw the usual. Boxes of frozen hash browns, bacon, waffle batter. Everything normal. I grabbed what I needed and closed the door. At 2:30, I heard scratching. It came from inside the freezer. Long, desperate scraping sounds, like fingernails on metal. Something was in there, trying to get out. The scratching grew louder, more frantic, accompanied by muffled thumping. I reached for the door handle. Don't. Beth's voice stopped me. She'd appeared beside me, her hand on my wrist. It's 2:30, rule 3. But something's in there. No, it's not. Trust me, don't open it. The scratching intensified. Whatever was in there was desperate, panicked. I could hear it throwing itself against the door. The metal groaned under the impacts. Beth and I stood there for an hour and a half, listening to something try to escape the freezer. At one point, I heard what sounded like a voice, screaming words I couldn't quite make out. At exactly 4:01, the sound stopped. Silence. I started toward the freezer again, but Beth stopped me. Wait until 4:30. Give it time. When I finally opened the freezer at 4:30, everything was exactly as I'd left it. No scratches on the door, no signs of disturbance. The boxes hadn't moved, but the temperature gauge read -40 degrees, far colder than it should have been. What was that? I whispered. Something that wants out, Beth said. That's why we keep the door closed. The Thursday bathroom incident was brief, but deeply unsettling. I'd forgotten what day it was. They all blurred together on the overnight shift. Around 3 o'clock, I needed to use the bathroom, and out of habit, I headed to the one in the back, past the kitchen. It was farther away, but it was usually cleaner. I pushed open the door. Behind it was a brick wall. Not a wall that had been built in front of the door. The door opened, but instead of a bathroom, there was just solid brick, old and crumbling, right where the bathroom should have been. The bricks looked ancient, stained with something dark. From behind the wall, I heard toilets flushing, running water, the echo of footsteps on tile. I slammed the door shut and backed away. Beth found me standing there, pale. Thursday, she said simply. Use the other bathroom. I did. I didn't try that door again. But the parking lot incident, that's what really got to me. Saturday night, 12:45. An old pickup truck, rust-colored and ancient, pulled into the parking lot. It parked under one of the lights, but the light flickered and died as soon as the truck stopped beneath it. A man sat in the driver's seat, completely still, not moving at all, just sitting there, staring at the Waffle House. I was wiping down tables near the window, and without thinking, I looked directly at him. The moment our eyes met, I knew I'd made a mistake. His face was wrong, too pale, almost grey. His mouth was too wide, stretched in a smile that showed too many teeth, far more than a human should have. And his eyes were too wide, unblinking, reflecting the Waffle House lights like an animal's. He started opening the truck door. "Owen," Beth's voice was sharp. "Rule 5, don't look at him." I tore my gaze away, staring down at the table I was cleaning, my heart hammering. From outside, I heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, the crunch of gravel. They came right up to the window where I stood. I kept my eyes down, focused on the table, but I could feel him there, standing just on the other side of the glass, breathing. I could hear it somehow, even through the window, wet, raspy breaths. The footsteps circled the building, around the back, past the kitchen, along the side, back to the front, over and over. For 20 minutes, those footsteps walked around the Waffle House while I stood frozen, too terrified to look up. Finally, they stopped. I waited another 5 minutes before I dared to glance at the parking lot. The truck was gone. "What the hell was that?" I demanded, my voice shaking. Beth set down the coffee pot she'd been holding. "Someone who wants to come in. If you look at them, you invite them. They can't come in unless you acknowledge them. And if they come in, then they take someone out. We never see that person again. This is insane. We need to leave. Call someone, something." "Where would we go?" Beth's voice was flat. "It follows people who work here. You can't just quit and walk away." "What do you mean it follows you?" "I mean exactly that. People who work here, who break the rules or try to leave, it doesn't let them go. Strange things start happening wherever they are. They see the truck, they hear the jukebox. Eventually, they come back, or they disappear." "You're saying we're trapped?" "I'm saying you should have read the reviews before you took the job." That weekend, a trucker came in around 2:30. Older guy, exhausted, with the kind of face that had seen a lot of long roads. He slumped into a booth, and Beth went over to take his order. I was mopping the far side of the restaurant when I heard him say it. "I'll take coffee and eggs the old way." Beth froze. I froze. Even the air in the restaurant seemed to stop moving. We don't do that anymore," Beth said carefully. The trucker looked up at her, his eyes sharp. "You sure? I remember this place used to." "Would scrambled eggs work for you?" Beth's voice was steady, but I could see her hands trembling. "I suppose." He didn't sound happy about it. Beth came back to the kitchen, moving fast. "Owen, if anyone ever orders eggs the old way, you give them scrambled eggs, nothing else. Don't ask them what they mean. Don't try to clarify. Just scrambled eggs. Understand? What's the old way?" Something they used to serve here before it was a Waffle House. Something that shouldn't be served. Ever. I made the scrambled eggs, the most normal, standard scrambled eggs I could manage. Beth brought them out to the trucker. He ate in silence, looking disappointed, but he didn't complain. When he left, he paused by booth 7, stared at it for a long moment, then shook his head and walked out. What would have happened if I'd asked him what he meant? I said. You would have found out what they used to serve here, Beth said. And then you'd probably be part of the menu. I didn't sleep well after my shifts. Even during the day, in my small room above the gas station, I could hear things, whispers in the walls, the distant sound of that warped jukebox song. Once, I woke up at 2:30 exactly and heard scratching at my door. I didn't open it. Wednesday night, 3:17. I was cleaning the counter near the kitchen when I heard it, knocking from inside the wall. 3 distinct knocks, deliberate, waiting. I remembered Rule 7, knock back twice. My hand was shaking when I raised it. I knocked on the wall twice, the sound hollow and strange. The knocking stopped. Then, faint but unmistakable, I heard a voice from inside the wall. Thank you. I stumbled backward, nearly dropping my cleaning supplies. Beth heard it too. She'd gone pale. The walls remember things, she said quietly. People who died here. People who got trapped here. Sometimes they need to know someone can still hear them. The next day, I cornered Tom during the afternoon. The day manager was there, and customers filled the booths. Normal. Everything looked normal in the daylight. I need to know what happened here, I said. Really happened. Tom looked older in the daylight, more tired. I told you. Follow the rules. People are trapped in the walls. Something lives in the freezer. The building remembers things. What the hell is this place? Tom sighed and led me outside, away from the windows. The original Waffle House burned down in 1983. Fire started in the kitchen late at night. 3 employees died. They never found all the bodies. The fire was too intense. When they rebuilt fast. Too fast. Didn't check everything. Didn't clear everything away. You're saying the building is built on top of remains? I'm saying the building remembers things that happened here. And sometimes it remembers things that didn't happen. That's worse. Tom lit a cigarette with shaking hands. The company knows. Waffle House corporate knows about places like this. They call them problem locations. There's about 20 across the South, all built on bad land, murder sites, burial grounds, places where something went wrong. They keep them open because closing them makes things worse. Worse how? The things that are contained here spread out. Other Waffle Houses start having problems. The rules keep it contained. Keep it fed, I guess? Just enough. The word fed made my stomach turn. Fed what? Tom wouldn't meet my eyes. You don't want to know. Just keep following the rules, Owen. It's the only way. But I was done with the rules. I'd had enough. Friday night, my 2-week anniversary at the job, I decided to quit. I'd pack my stuff, get in my car, and drive as far away as I could. Beth had said it would follow me, but I didn't care. Anything was better than this. Beth knew what I was planning the moment I walked in for my shift. She looked sad. It'll follow you, she said. It always does. I'll risk it. Owen, dash. I can't do this anymore, Beth. I can't work in a place where the building is alive and hungry and people are trapped in the walls. I can't. She nodded slowly. I understand. I tried to leave once too. What happened? I made it 4 days. Then I came back. Why? Because it was worse out there. The truck followed me. The jukebox. I heard it in my apartment. Even though I didn't have a jukebox, I heard knocking in every wall. Eventually, I realized the only place I was safe was here, following the rules. That's insane. Yeah, Beth said softly. It is. I packed my cleaning supplies into the storage closet at 3 o'clock, ready to walk out at the end of my shift. Just 4 more hours. I could handle 4 more hours. At 3:30, everything went quiet. The hum of the refrigerator stopped. The buzz of the fluorescent lights faded. Even the sound of the highway outside vanished. The Waffle House was completely, utterly silent. Then the jukebox lit up. It started playing that warped version of Dream a Little Dream, but louder this time, the screaming vocals echoing through the empty restaurant. The freezer door swung open by itself. I heard scratching, the same desperate scratching from before, but it wasn't coming from the freezer anymore. It was coming from everywhere. The walls, the floor, the ceiling. Booth 7's vinyl split open, that wet tearing sound. And I saw that awful meat pulsing inside. The whispers returned, hundreds of voices begging and pleading. Knocking erupted from every wall. Not the polite 3 knocks. Violent, furious pounding, like dozens of fists trying to break through. And in the kitchen, every single light blazed on. I looked through the pass-through window. The kitchen was empty, completely empty, but every light was on. Overhead fluorescents, heat lamps, even lights I didn't know existed. Then I smelled it. Cooking meat, sweet and rotten at the same time. A shadow moved past the cook window, tall, too tall to be human. Owen. Beth grabbed my arm. Her voice was terrified. Don't go in there. Whatever you do, don't go in there. The old pickup truck pulled into the parking lot, parking directly in front of the windows. The man with too many teeth got out and started walking toward the door. All of it was happening at once, every rule breaking simultaneously. The building was furious. It doesn't want you to leave, Beth whispered. The door handle started to turn, even though I'd locked it. The shadow in the kitchen grew larger. The pounding in the walls intensified until pictures fell off and dishes rattled. And then Tom walked in. He appeared in the dining room from the back, though I hadn't seen him arrive. He looked different, older, grayer. His eyes were hollow, exhausted. I tried to leave in 1997, Tom said quietly. Made it 3 days. He held up his hands. His fingernails were black. His fingers were too long, joints bending in wrong places. Eventually, you become part of it, he continued. Part of what keeps it going. Part of what feeds it. I looked at Beth, really looked at her for the first time. Her eyes were slightly off, the pupils too wide. Her smile, when she gave me that sad look, stretched just a bit too far. Her skin had a grey tinge I thought was from the fluorescent lights. How long have you been here? I asked. Since 1989, Beth said. I was 18. It was supposed to be a summer job. The man from the truck was at the door now, pressing his face against the glass. That too wide smile, too many teeth. Tom walked over to booth 7, sat down in it calmly. The vinyl closed around him, and he didn't react, like he belonged there. "The rules aren't to protect you, Owen," Tom said. "They're to keep you trapped, to keep employees here, feeding the building. It needs people, living people, people who follow the rules and keep it alive." The knocking in the walls changed rhythm. It sounded almost like applause. I ran for the door, desperate, but my hand passed right through the handle. It wasn't real, or I wasn't real anymore. I couldn't tell which. The shadow in the kitchen moved closer to the pass-through window. I still couldn't see its face. "Sit down, Owen," Beth said gently. "Might as well get comfortable." No, I'm leaving. Nobody leaves." Tom's voice was flat. "That's the real rule. The only rule that matters." I backed away until I hit the counter. The jukebox was still playing that warped song. The man outside was still at the window. The shadow in the kitchen was still waiting. And I understood, finally, what this place was. Not a haunted building, not a cursed location. A trap. A carefully constructed trap designed to catch people who had nowhere else to go. People like me, desperate and alone, who'd take any job without asking questions. The building didn't just remember the dead. It collected them, transformed them, made them part of itself. Tom stood up from booth 7, his 2 long fingers adjusting his manager's badge. He walked over and handed me something. My name tag. It said OWEN in those familiar yellow letters. "You're on shift tomorrow night too," he said. 11 to 7. "Don't be late." I looked down at the laminated rules in my hand. They'd changed. At the top, in new letters, it said, "Owen's Rules." The building knew my name now. The jukebox finally stopped playing. The shadow in the kitchen retreated. The man outside walked back to his truck and drove away. Booth 7's vinyl sealed shut. The knocking in the walls faded to silence. Everything returned to normal. Or what passed for normal here. Beth poured me a coffee. "It gets easier," she said. "After a while, you forget what it was like before. You forget there was ever a before." Tom returned to whatever place he goes during the day, his 2 long fingers trailing along the counter as he left. I'm still here. It's been 3 months now. I follow the rules. I never mop booth 7. I let the jukebox finish its songs. I keep the freezer closed between 2 and 4. I knock back twice when I hear knocking in the walls. I don't look at people in the parking lot. I don't go in the back bathroom on Thursdays. I give scrambled eggs when someone orders the old way. And I never, ever enter the kitchen when all the lights are on, but nobody's there. The rules keep me safe. The rules keep me trapped. Last week, a new guy came in for an interview. Tom hired him on the spot. The kid looked desperate, grateful for the job. He reminded me of myself 3 months ago. Tom handed him the laminated rules, and the kid laughed. "Is this a joke?" "No," I said, my voice flat. "Follow them exactly. Don't ask why. Don't break them." The kid looked at me, and I saw his expression change. He saw something in my eyes, something that scared him, but he took the job anyway. Where else was he going to go? My fingers are starting to feel strange, too long. The joints bend in ways they shouldn't. My skin looks grey sometimes, especially under the fluorescent lights. Beth says that's normal. Tom says it's part of the process. I'm a janitor at the Waffle House off Route 49 in Mississippi. There are awful rules to follow, and I'll be following them forever. If you see a Waffle House that sits too far from the highway, that feels wrong when you drive past, that has only 1 or 2 employees working the overnight shift, keep driving. Don't stop. Don't go in. And if you do go in, if you're desperate enough for a job that you ignore the warning signs, if you take that laminated list of rules from the manager with the 2 long fingers, well, I'll probably be the one who trains you